right? And so the idea here is that when we ask ourselves, what does life have meaning, right? Of course, there are going to be two possible answers. When we answer yes or no, we're going to have to stipulate whether or not we mean something subjective, right? Which in this case is going to be cashed out in terms of something internal to a specific person, okay? Versus something more objective, or what here is going to be described as external, okay? So yes, life has meaning, but does it have meaning just for each individual person, or does it have meaning for everybody? No, life doesn't have meaning because of some feature of individuals, right? Or no, life doesn't have meaning because of some feature, right, universal to all individuals. Okay, so when we classify these views, yes, life does have meaning. Those are just generally going to be referred to as optimistic views. Okay. The views that classify that life does not have meaning, right, whether subjectively or objectively, are going to be classified as pessimism. Now, it's important to note that they're not pessimists in the sense that they think we should give up on life. All of these individuals are going to say, no, life doesn't have meaning, but they're going to try to give an account of why we should keep living anyways, right? What they're doing here is just giving a reason for why life doesn't have objective meaning or subjective meaning, right? And so for them, they're just accounting for what they call the absurdity of life or the lack of meaning. So where does life's absurdity come from? Okay, where does life's meaning come from? That's what the bottom part is going to refer to, right? So these are going to be our accounts of what makes life absurd, or it's going to be our accounts of what makes life meaningful. Okay, so I'm going to stop and come back. Any questions so far? Terminology. Okay. So when we look at the idea that yes, there is going to be this internal optimism. Okay, so yes, life does have meaning, but that meaning is subjective. So something like what Lunaria was saying, it's coming from something within oneself, right? That means, again, we can have some differentiation. That thing within oneself that provides meaning could be the same for everybody, right? So it might just depend on the individual to find it or not, but it's the same feature of each person that gives life meaning, right? So if you think that being creative, right, is the thing in people that gives life meaning, well, not everyone is going to find that meaning, right? It would be something like that. Or having children, right? Whatever the thing is that you think for humans makes life meaningful, right? All people have the same thing. It's still their choice, right? Whether or not they pursue that thing, right? Or whether or not they agree that that is a thing that they should pursue. Or you could think it is dependent on each individual person, but it's not the same for everybody, right? Each individual person can have their own thing that makes their life meaningful. Now, this can be really interesting because we might want to look at examples, for instance, of maybe someone who sits around and plays video games all day or just watches TV all day, right? And some people might want to objectively say that their life is not meaningful. But if you take this subjective, optimistic account, then you would have to say that their life has meaning for them, right? If that is the thing that they actually believe makes their life meaningful. So how do we feel about that? Is someone's life meaningful if what do we think? If that's what they want to do, sure. And does it matter what they're doing on the screen? They're just mindly absorbing content? Sure. All right. Hannah, what's the sense in your class? Many people a meaningful life as possible. So is anyone's life not meaningful then? Yeah, and so this brings up important questions like again, this reference is getting a little outdated, but since they made a fourth one, I think maybe people know it again. But The Matrix, have you all seen The Matrix? The general premise, do we know what the premise of the film is? Virtual reality, only it's all of your senses, right? Your entire conscious experience is all digital, right? It's not real, right? In terms of the physical world, right? But again, going back to metaphysics, you might think that there are degrees of reality, right? So it has some level of reality in terms of experience. So there's a very famous scene in the first Matrix, right? Because the premise of the movie is that the heroes of the film are trying to break the humans out of the Matrix, right? So that they can make the choice, right? That's the very famous red pill or blue pill choice, right? Do you want to keep being in the Matrix or do you want to go out into the real world? Now, once you go into the real world, you realize that the Matrix is in most ways a lot better, right? How is the Matrix better than the real world for those of us who are familiar with this post-apocalyptic fiction? Exactly, right? You don't have to struggle for your basic survival, right? At least not in this particular Matrix. They didn't, I don't think they showed a lot of homeless people. I have to go back and watch it now. But the idea is that in the Matrix, right, they're eating very lovely food, they have jobs, they've got, they're all pretty much comfortable, right? We would say like middle class. And when they get out into the real post-apocalyptic reality, right, they have to eat this like gross slop that, has all of the chemical nutrients that your body needs, but it tastes gross, right? Everything is dirty, and you're lucky if you're able to bathe and get fresh water, right?